total length. And according to this, total length was less than this, but it's literally more. But I don't get that. The body is so much different because it's. And the thing is, what's weird about this particular one here, I realized that it's almost equal two sizes here, even though it doesn't go in all the way. It stops right around here-ish, something like that. But I went and I bought this, and it's really not. Obviously, can't work. Also, the nut is actually smaller. The nut that which actually screwed into it. So, we'll get refined. And it's also not to mention it seems to be, the thread is actually the same, but it's thinner, and it looks like where the strut mount goes is not going to work either. It's possible the strut mount goes over the whole thing. Hang on a second. Hang on. I stand corrected. It's actually too big for the strut mount, which is weird. But the size of it, it's actually not that much different. But, obviously, you know, don't go with this number. I'll tell you in a second. Hang on. Wrap this back in the box here, and yeah, there's other numbers that are similar, like 366001. But it's definitely bigger than what it was listed at. It listed at 24.8 inches in total length, and this is obviously bigger. And this guy here was overall, I believe, 25 inches, just shy of it, which is why I picked this one. Why the hell would I pick one that wouldn't be the right height? So that's hooked on there. And it's 24 and 3/4, and this was 24.8. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect. There is no fucking perfect. Not in my world. This guy here is like 13, between 13 and 3/8. And this is 11, like 11 and a quarter, or just about 11. 11 and a half. No, 11 and 3, like 11 and a quarter. And the threads don't really start there anyway. So, kind of frustrating because I would have liked a backup plan, because I'm going to the city now, and it's like every time you call somebody, they say they have something over there, and they say they have it, and I got to get it out, and then they put you on. I mean, I call them for the last 3 weeks, so I'm going to 2 places, and a lot of these places, they're a big junkyard where the Mets play in Queens, and the other guy's in Brooklyn, and one guy's $25 cheaper than the other. I don't really care. But it's like, why need somebody hang on? Like, get it out of the car and sell it to me. But, I know by the junkyards by the city, they got people coming in all day long looking for parts, and then they take them out as they need them. So they got a whole bunch of people asking for parts. How are they going to do this? So I might as well just show up too and just say, hey, listen, I need this part. I'm going to wait for it and see what happens, It just never ends. But now, at least I know I can use a left or a right, because I'm just going to gut it out. I'm going to use the old strut nonetheless. But other than making that other nut fit, because I realize what happens when it's gas. Like, that's why I know this is hydraulic, because I really think this is the one that I made over there already. The reason why it's tight coming out is because there's still something wrong, because it makes me feel like it's an equal amount of distance. However, coming out, you would think it'd be tighter going in, but that's the way hydraulic shocks were. They were easy going in and hard coming out. So, but they really felt better, actually, as according to, what I remember from old style shocks. So I will leave the mess alone and take a trip into the city and see what happens. All right, we got a U strut now. the left one. On the right. But you can actually hear when it goes up. It seems to be the same as this one going both ways. The only thing that now I'm worried about is that it actually does go for its own. So it's gas charged, but there's really not much difference. It'll come up on its own without gas in it. So I gather there's a way to put gas in this thing. I really don't know how. I guess they inject it through the holes somehow. But it's only, it doesn't feel like there's much because it stops right there. And then I pull the rest of the stove. It's so weak, it's like a moot point. But it's not really stuck. You know, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to apparently the second one that has that I fucked up the seal on. That's the one that which it didn't seem right for other reasons, but you know, actually it could have been fine, but it's hard to say at this point. But the first one seems to have a bigger problem with it being so hard to pull out. So I gotta probably put. Oh, look at that! It's actually leaking out all the gas right now. If it's at the right place, it leaks out the gas. So it's going to be even less now. That was a lot of gas that just came out of nowhere. You can hear it. So I mean, this guy's leaking. Yeah, it has even less oomph to it. I still don't think the gas does anything for the most part. It really doesn't. I just think it allows it to stay clean, maybe. That's the only thing I can think of. And maybe less likely to draw shit into it. But like if you keep this at a certain place, it all leaks out. That's hilarious. I mean, it was in there all that time. And just by me playing with it, that's not supposed to happen, but ultimately this is going to work. You know, but that's kind of the kind of pressure I figured it would be. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's sucking back in on its own now. These are weird ass fucking things. I tell you, you don't get much for 150 bucks anymore. Because that's what it costed me. Like I said, it's going to work though. You know, it's really a matter of cleaning it. So this one here is probably not going to need much. I'm just going to clean it out, put new fluid in, and put this thing on the other side, and then I'll make that one hopefully work with the valving like the other one has. So I'm just going to take that little cup off the bottom and swap it over. As much as I don't know if we're going to bother, so I don't think I really need to. I know something's wrong with that first one. The second one had a problem, of course, with me playing with the seal, and it didn't seem right when I was putting it in, but it seemed more similar to this than the other one. So there might have been nothing wrong with it, really. But if you go all the way, look at that. All the gas is leaking out if you go all the way down. That's insane. And there's some fluid here too. So let's hope this works. You know, I'm hoping that the AW32 fluid is actually a little thicker and less likely to leak. And you know, this works out because there's really no other choice than to buy dealer struts at this point. You know, this is the lowest amount of money I could possibly spend on it. So we'll see what happens. Well, I wish I filmed this because this thing is absolutely loose. I just turned. I went. I jigged it all up in the vise and everything. I went to go put this on, and whoop, right away. So somebody was probably in here. Maybe somebody had a similar idea to mine, and that means it was working. So we'll see what happens. Well, this is a bummer in a certain sense because this is what I pulled out of it. It had shocks. It had the struts replaced already, so they're leaking a little bit. But that's only when you go all the way down or up. But I think it's going to work. What's funny is that it's pulling down now instead of pushing out. That's hilarious. So it'll straighten out. That's not an issue. But I guess there's not much I can do at this point. That's a bummer. It really is. Oh, so that's why it was loose. They never really made it that tight. And this is the aftermarket thing. I realize that's whatever the dealer probably gives you that with the thing. But I'm curious. Yeah, there's like moisture in here. There's water in here, which is no good to be around the seals, but probably wasn't that far. But I actually got strut bellows because I was a little worried about this. But this is a bummer because I really wanted to rebuild the original ones, you know, and I kind of did in a certain sense. But these have, you know, these have wear and this one has wear and tear on it too. It's just hilarious that it was pushing out on its own and now it's pushing in. So I'm not quite sure what the hell I did to make it do that, other than the air, the gas escaping. But even with the gas escaping, it should work. And there seems to be enough fluid in it, but I'm not sure if this could be rebuilt at a later date or something like that. But this is unfortunate. It's good in one sense. Like if I had a pair of these, it'd fucking solve my headache with all the shit I went through with all the little tedious parts and everything. But I'm overall not particularly happy. I wish this was an original strut in a certain sense, but it's probably going to be more reliable than getting a used strut and just throwing it in. So, but overall, it's kind of a bummer. I don't know if there's something else I can put to help seal that because it was leaking a little bit of fluid, you know. These guys aren't going to like warranty anything either, you know. This is, you know, me taking it apart. They're selling you the strut as it is, you know. So there's a bunch of crap on the thing here, which normally you would never, strut never goes down there, you know. But I guess I got to work with what I got here, and that's it, you know. So ultimately, though, I am going to take apart that first strut. That's too hard, and I'm going to change the ends on it, which is what I was thinking about in the beginning, but I wasn't sure how it was supposed to be. It's seeming like it's a similar, you know, in, similar out, you know, other than the gas coming out. That's just, it really doesn't do much, you know, under pressure and everything. It's a non-issue. It's a non-entity. It's when everything is all together, you know. So shouldn't be too big of a deal. Oh well. Now, what was funny, I will say, because I'm still gonna trash the dealer because they started this shit. They had to make this and make them unavailable. The chrome is coming off. That's not just dirt. It was basically rust, and that's why the fucking gas was leaking out there when it went down. So the original one had a bunch of dirt on it too, which can affect the seal, and I get it. But this thing is impeccable. You clean it off, and it's like this is such a high quality piece. I'd much rather have this part in the car than this part. But this part is going to work for her. Hopefully, it's the same ride. I don't think you're going to notice it too much. I'm debating whether I should put the one that I do in the left or the right. I'm probably going to put this guy in the right side, which is this one, and take it from there. Um, and yeah, this is unfortunate. I really wanted to do the thing I wanted to do, but it won't be too bad. That way, if this one is a lighter shock, it'll be on the right side where there's, you know, you have one less person in the car most of the time. So the other one will be a little bit stiffer probably and be for the driver's side. So it'll kind of equal out if you have one person. But this was obviously good enough, you know. But you can see it has plenty. These things have plenty of fluid in it. There's like a large amount of, just knowing what I know with these, there's a lot of leaking you can have before you actually start to have an issue. So I don't think it's going to be a problem, you know. Uh, so that sucks. Oh well. There's two other imperfections here too. Still wants to go in. But right here, that's two rust spots. So That's unfortunate. And you got all that rust, which goes all the way down. When it comes out, there's oil on it. So, being that I know this car is not going to get a lot of mileage, it's probably going to be fine. But you know what? They'll know. They'll know if there's an issue. So basically, this is showing me that these strut cartridges are probably not that reliable. Because I tell you, the old strut, it actually didn't really leak, you know. So it's really, really not fair. I hope, being that this thing is going in now, like I said, it's not a big deal. It's just getting the fucking nut put on when you want to put it on. That's gonna be fun. So I gotta come up with something for that. It's always something. But this is what I paid for. This is what I gotta use. I can't put it back together and give it back to the guy and tell him, oh yeah, it's not working. I don't know. It is technically working, but this is junkyard part. These are $466 each. So I paid $150. I'm going to use this spring because I believe this spring is way better, particularly the right side. The right side was worse on this car. So, oh well. Yeah, you tell by my my temperament, I'm not really happy, but it's going to fix the car, you know, for the most part, and it'll last for a while. So I'm not really too worried about it. Quick thing I want to point out: you can get them in Moog or this brand from Advance Auto, K90463. Rock Auto said this is what fits the car, but it also fits a Nissan 240SX. My problem was this guy, the broken boot. It fits perfectly in here. So this thing here came the other way and it was basically flat and square. Probably saw it on that last thing, probably. I don't know. I don't remember if I filmed it, but this will go in there. This will stay aligned. You can trim it maybe a little bit more, but I think that's going to conform, you know. But I actually had it on there, but the other way. Now I got to get it on again. Basically, it stayed up when I had this guy all the way down and it was holding it on. This fucking thing is impossible. I seem to be almost there and it just doesn't want to go with this fucking shit. Oh boy. Springs, you know, moved and it curved, you know. You can only pull it apart so far to get it to go together. So what's crazy about this spring is that you know, like the other ones, see, I got it off, but there was still spring tension on it, but I had them all the way and you can't really grab them. I was grabbing it because what happens is these go way the fuck out then, the last two where you're not on. So it's very hard to figure this out, you know. Without a Brannick, I don't think it's going to work. Oh, wait a minute. Same thing is going to happen. No, not yet. There we go. But if I keep going like that, these pins, see that pin got stuck. I got to lift that up first. I got to lift it with this, my finger. And the rest of these technically should come out. This is crazy. I hate when they fucking design cars. It should work. Should come out and it works. All right, I gotta get two hands on this. So this is the stuff that's in the attic above the garage, and that's all the nests made by raccoons and stuff like that. And there's raccoon poop that's been dried up for years. This is where my little sandblaster is, and just a bunch of spare parts and a bunch of shit. And I have a Brannick, I do, but I just took it off the floor now, and like, maybe I could do. It's like on the beam over here, and on this ledge, and I'm like, I could secure it to it, but man, I got to drag up these struts, and usually struts are not that heavy, but these have that whole hub on it, and that's a pain, you know. But I don't want to bring this downstairs because it doesn't look how wide. This is like one of the ones that are like huge. The one that the machine shop has is like tiny in comparison. I'm not even quite sure how they get it to hold, you know, but it's basically connected to a pole. This is like a big giant flush wall that it has to be mounted on, and I'm like, oh. But it's an interesting thing. If I just use the beam while I'm screwing this, I don't think it'll matter too much. It should kind of hold, and but it's just a pain. My God, it's really the last thing I wanted to do is to go up here, but then you got to pay more money to get that done by somebody else, and it just, you got to wait, among other things, you know. But it's probably the big problem is that I have a mess. But I don't know. This is starting to look more feasible, but just like then I got to get the strut out. The strut is so heavy, I ain't kidding. And even after I get it together, oh man, I got to carry it down these rickety stairs. So I'm a thinking. I don't know. Then the air hose grabbing the other spring there. It's actually a direct route to where this thing is, and I'm just throw everything up here. Getting down will be a different story, but if I can drag it to this guy where I put this engine with this come along here, chain hoist, and lower it down. Possibility. Let's see how many ways I can kill myself. Strange contraption, and I'm starting to turn it and turn it and turn it. I just scooted it over a little bit, but I'm like, oh, they went to me like, oh my God, because I ran out of threads because it's going down and it passed the thing. So I got to kind of scoot the whole thing over, I gather, if this is going to still work. Oh. Every time I mess with this, I have to move it again because I know that I'm going to probably have a problem. So this is down right, but the top, it's like, it's questionable whether or not I'm going to be able to catch it and to do it. And then I got to go down another rung, and it may not compress enough then. I'm very stuck in bewilderment here. I wonder if I should go down one more. Oops, I probably should. But it's much easier when you do this from the beginning and you have it there. But the thing is, you got to do one strut at a time, or you know, you got to release the strut. But because you know, if it's already compressed on the spring, then you do this and then you leave it there, and then you do what you got to do with the strut, and then you're done. You know, for the most part. But now if I go one more thing under, kind of changes everything. See, these you can adjust so that you get in the right place, and it looks like I'm nice and straight and everything. And then this thing here articulates, which is kind of cool, and it does go down evenly, but it's just a little bit funny. It's just a little bit funny. Okay. amazing how it finds its center. And it's like that guy could go in. That guy could go in. What's funny is that it's like that. This one here is a little more square in there, but this doesn't move this way. Ooh. Starting to get tight. I think I'm gonna need 2 hands, and I wouldn't want to film my death. So I could try to put it in also, but it's not going to be enough. It needs to be a lot more. Because I'm basically like 1, 2, 3. I guess I got on four springs, 4 coils, where the other mechanism could only do 3. And when I try to put it on 4, it bellowed outwards and was curved. You know, like it slipped off the side because it's only holding by two places on each side. This is 3 places, so. Looks to be a lot of good here, so let me see what happens. And I'm like, hanging on by a thread. I guess I got to scoot it over more. I would have scooted it over even more, but the thing is, this thing hits, so I got a new problem. So I got to see if it'll work now. It's for the press, you know, like a pinion bearing presser, and hopefully it doesn't slide down, because technically it could, and then it wouldn't really be that much longer. But then again, now that I think about it, if I put it all the way down, it's going to stay there. Yeah, that can't go any further. So I can only run out of threads, which is not going to happen. You should hope so. So see what happens. I didn't film it, but you see that right angle on the secondary one? That won't go all the way down unless it's in a it's like a D, you know. And everything kind of went together, so I compressed it a lot more than I needed to, because when I had this, compressed over here, when I let go of this, I thought it was going to be very tight, and it actually wasn't. I had like an inch, and it was flopping around, so I probably could have checked it a little bit better, as far as to make sure that I caught that second piece. But the way I'm looking at it now, that would not be up against each other if that was in. And then I gather I would see a bunch of threads, and I don't, and I wouldn't be catching this all the way, which looks like I did. So, and I did manage to get that thing through, and I just had some pressure on. I just put enough pressure and held this on. I got the nut on with one hand, reached down, grabbed the gun, and boom, zipped it on. So I think this is done. I'm going to use 2 hands to remove it, though. It's very tight. And this thing is like ready to come off. It wasn't really stuck. I just was able to turn it a little bit after I released the pressure. This guy is off. I got to get this guy off and then just lift it up over that. And I gather I can just keep lifting this all the way up, so it's kind of out of my way then. But I got to, oh yeah, there he goes. I was out. It just needed to go over a little bit, and it really wasn't holding, so that's good. And this guy can go like that, and that guy can be moved like that. So I clear this guy, and I still got this guy on this one. All right, 2 hands. Over all your mess at the bottom of the ladder, because I basically keep shit in front of the ladder. Ever since I put this motor up here, I haven't used this. So this works. She's going down. Yeah, that's got to go over the edge with that. I can actually. Oh, I guess that's it. I didn't know that. I guess when you have I had the sling on here, and being that it was on an engine stand, but it's like It's like 4 feet off the ground or something like that. I'll get it. Not a big deal. Now I got to take apart the left side one and play with the valving in that too. You know, intact in the vise. Like I said, it was just very tight coming out, okay going in. This one was even going both ways, but something didn't feel right, and it was like a little too easy to go in and out. But I still think it's possible. I just you know, played with it too much. This was probably the good one, and I was thinking this is the good one because I thought it was hydraulic. I don't think they were originally gas charged. I think just that insert is gas charged. So what do you call it? So I popped this guy off. I'm going to try just putting this one on first. Put it back in there and see what happens, and see how it feels. And if that doesn't work, then I got to open this up and take the other piece out. So we'll find out. Things. Number one, I popped it out, but the thing is that the problem I had was with pulling it out. So when I pulled this out, it still was tight. So either some displacement is not happening with the piece inside, like this guy right here. As you can see, I pulled off that seal the other day, and I think that either there's nothing wrong, and that's just the way it is when everything is like better and newer, or because this one was working much like the one that's upstairs there, although it's leaking, whatever, the one that's hanging on the hook now. But I'm going to take all these guts off here and replace it exactly the way I found it. Just leave that off and swap it with this one and see what happens. I ended up using everything from the other piston except for the piston itself, because this thing here was leaking a lot of air on the other one like it was in the first video, and that's the one where I took out that Teflon seal and I put it back in, and I don't know if it was sealing too much or what in one sense, but now let me try to put this on my legs, and now this is kind of what you expect if you have no oil in it. It moves relatively, like if you remember, it was a hard time trying to manipulate it. So even when it was dry. So I just think this is the better way to go. And basically now I gotta put this in, and it might be a little overfill and I might make a mess, but I'm gonna lift that up as I go. Yeah, that's up at the top already. Hang on a second, maybe let's see what I'm doing here. Oh, now you probably just see me. No, you see my shirt. Okay, of course. Hang on, I gotta use two hands, but you get the idea. Basically, it's overfilled, so I gotta do something. After playing with different ones, but I honestly think in the end, it wasn't the problem. I think the problem was because what I tried to just do right now, I had this all the way down, and I was trying to tighten this, and it was sticking out like 4 threads. Like it only went in this far; it wouldn't go anymore, and that's because of the hydraulic effect, I think. So what was happening is that I pushed this in all the way, or I didn't push it in all the way, and I tightened it, and then I forced it in, and then it kind of was like this pressurized system, and this is why it was so hard to pull out afterwards, you know. So I'm gonna have to let out a little bit more, and I think we'll be okay. So just to let you know, these things are a real pain in the ass because this is a tapered, it's not meant to fit in fucking vise. So I'm playing with this thing to kind of like just put the weight of it on this end. I keep playing with it because I have to put it in here and so I can lock it down. But I actually, it's bottom heavy, so boom, it flipped over and it bent this a little bit, and I had to bend it back and then fucking, you know, put the nut in, and it was fine. It really wasn't bent that bad, but had to be bent back. Made a mess, put fucking dirt all inside it again, had to clean it out again. But anyway, in the end, so this is pushing it all the way in, and the last inch here, which means I may just have it a little bit overfilled, because it's tight at the last 3/4 of an inch going in, but coming out right there, like it almost had like it was low on fluid. but that's just because it's on this angle here. I really got to do it straight up, but trust me, I've done it each way. I put it up right. I made sure that when the piston was in, the fluid came out of the holes. So being that it's on an angle, it may get a little airbound because there's got to be an air pocket in there somewhere. But now that it's tilted, but see right there, I think because it's tilted, that's the reason why. And look, it actually is coming out on its own. That's actually a great thing. I guess I got air underneath the spot, just like how the other one was, but in the opposite. So let's see if I put this up right, which is fucking nearly impossible to do. You can't clamp it in the upright position. You gotta I'm just kind of like using the vise as a table kind of thing, where I'm just leaning it on itself. Because I was messing with it before, and I'm holding it, and then all of a sudden it came out of the vise and went, poof, flipped all the way over. Anyway, it goes in nice, a little tight at the end there, but it's never going to go there. You know, with the spring compressed, it's never going to be there. But what's great is that it actually has, this is crazy, and it's coming out on its own. To me, I think that's the way it's designed. There's some kind of balancing act going on with the fluid, you know. But it comes out relatively easy, you know. And when I push it in, see, now it doesn't have that airbound thing because I'm upright. And that air might have got underneath it, and that's why it's pulling out on its own. But I like that. I'm going to leave it like that. It may have some kind of thing, something to do with ballast, you know, with the fluid. But interesting. But anyway, I'm going to get to putting this, I got to take that guy off there and then set all this up upstairs to make it, to put the spring on and whatnot. But I think this is fixed. Right. So although I think there's, you know, something wrong with the other setup that I had in the strut, something's weird, you know. So basically, I've been, as you can see, I got a ton of fluid on the floor. I keep fucking adding and subtracting. So basically, I have it so it goes down relatively, you know, easy halfway, and then it gets tough. Okay, it gets pretty tough, you know. But I just think that's good. Like kind of like makes a dual kind of, almost like a dual shock, you know. But when I realized that when you push it all the way down and then release this, air comes out and then it stays down. If you push it and hold it all the way up and then release this, the air comes out. Now it wants to go back up. So it's something to look into. You know, your shocks may be in better shape where they don't do that, but I think it'll improve over time. Also, the fluid could be an issue, you know, but it's hard to go in, you know. Like I had it so it was only like a few inches, but then it wasn't coming all the way up. So I kind of like it kind of going up for the most part, and it's not going up all the way. I gotta still help it here, but I think that'll be good for little bumps here, and then you hit a big bump, and then you know you have that extra protection, you know, the extra cushion. So you know, I've been playing with it. Do I want it this way? Do I want it that way? And it always seems like I have, you know, because, you know, honestly, the shock is never going to go over here. You know, like this is you can't really compress the spring all the way down there. You know, you really can't. And this comes up pretty high. So it's not like, you know, it takes two fingers though, you know, so that's good. But right here is where it gets hard, and I still think it will go, but I think it protects it more. And the worst case scenario, it's going to leak out because basically there's little vents here, but you still have to crack it loose in order for that to work. But I just think under major stress, it would still leak out. I don't think this is going to be a problem, but I like the way this is now, that it holds pressure up. And that's why when I had the other thing upside down, because that's what I also did. I played with it going upside down, and then it was going back in, and then it wouldn't come back out. So although I think that will work its way out no matter what, like the other one, this is just such a peculiar thing, you know, because maybe that they did put a charge of gas in there to help it go up because it's just air now. It's not really a gas, you know. So there's something to that probably. I think for what it is and what the dealer charges, because I'm still shitting on the dealer with all of this. Between the, you know, I basically just exposed how their $466 you know, inserts, and I don't care how old it is, because you should, you know, cars don't need struts like they used to, but they need it on an Infiniti. That's bullshit, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But this is really in impeccable shape. It's a poor design in the sense that it still draws in dirt somehow, but that's neither here nor there. But in the end, um, you know, the other side, it's working. It'll be all right. I'm going to put it on the right side, like I said, and it's just one of those things that, you know, I got to use one, and it had a cartridge in it, so I still think it's going to be fine for now, at least, you know, for a few years. But you know, ultimately, I would have liked to have done this to both sides, you know. And it's not out of the question because I still have the other parts. I still think that maybe there's nothing wrong with them other than that seal that I fucked up on, you know. So if I can find that seal, or all of these seals for that matter, it would be interesting, to say the least, you know, to be able to do it, you know. So I'm going to save the part, like even the strut that I got, like was another, I think it was a left actually. So it doesn't matter. The point is the insert inside. That's the thing that matters. You can still reuse this. This is just a tin can that holds it all together. So now I'm going to go upstairs and set this all up and get the other spring done. And then I can start putting these back in and see how the car rides, you know. And then it ends up being the rears. If you get a 240 Nissan SX, it looks like if it's a 93 or a 96, I don't know what year's the cutoff, but I looked at 93, looked at 96. They're identical shocks. They call it the hiccup or something like that, you know, type of suspension. It says does not, like if you buy the KYBs for one of those cars. Now I have to measure the rear shocks on the car because the 96 and the 93, they're different by like 4 or 5 inches. So I think it's better just to buy it at this point. I wouldn't want to do the same thing I went through here. I don't think it really pays. You know, it's a lot of work. It paid for the front, but like if you could put a regular shock in and it's fine, and it's, you know, a KYB, that's fine. You know, but I got to measure it and see which is it closer to the 96 or the 93. You know, because they do that sometimes. They play with it. Because what happened was the reason why I even got the idea for that, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this looks very, very similar. Because the kid in the AutoZone, I was telling him, because I bought those other strut cartridges that didn't work out, and I was explaining to him, and he goes, yeah, there's a lot of things with the 240SX. It's like the J30, because he said that the upgrade, if you want to convert a 240SX to rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive or something, like whatever the fuck he said you could take the rear end out of a J30 and put it in a 240SX. They basically are the same car, except one is front-wheel drive, one's rear-wheel drive. And I go, damn, I didn't know this kid knew that. So I started looking at the shocks, and I'm like, you know what? It looks like that's going to work. So, I mean, the worst case scenario, you'd have to get the springs, which may or may not be available for the rears. But I think it's still doable. You know, I don't think it's going to be terribly out of whack as far as the height is concerned anyway. So I think it's going to work out. So I got to get this going. I'm probably not going to film this, you know, doing the strut. I did the other one, filmed it. So I'd rather have both of my hands on everything, and everything goes faster when you do it. And I've wasted a lot of time, and I got a huge mess, and it's not getting cleaned up today. So I gotta just try to get things done. Everything went together pretty nice here. I put the vice grip in a little different place. Uh, the guy who took it apart, the machine shop, he just zipped it off and let the thing go flying, and it's not really going on nice. So thank God I have an extra nut because I have 3 struts now. But you can see now, you put this there and you see the flat spot. That way when you put this guy here, now they don't want you to intersect with this. So the flat spot is, okay, there it is. My eyes don't see. Okay. Like I can go down just a little bit more. Oh, it wants to kind of ride sideways. All right, I gotta have 2 hands. Damn it. So I just want to show you flat spot, and you see if I'm letting go, it kind of it rides up and goes like that. So basically, I got to get the better nut, and then you just put this on the flat spot, and it's fine. So the car's sitting fine. If this side is higher, it's negligible, you know, but it's fucking rides awesome. I'm very happy. So that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, I just made a video, 8 minutes of me driving around and narrating, and it didn't get registered. So I think I'm going to make another video tomorrow of me driving and showing you going over the bumps. It's probably easier to see anyway. But I was going to say that I was going to show my 92 Ford Taurus, which is a similar year car. This is 93, that one's 92. And then I'm going to show me going over those same collection of bumps. And you'll see that my car takes it very hard, and I have new struts in my car too. So it's definitely a huge improvement. All right, so I just wanted to make a comparison video of me driving my 92 Ford Taurus, which is a similar year car to that Infiniti, and showing how it takes the bumps compared to the Infiniti after I just fixed it. So right here, this block here is like loaded with bumps. Boom, boom. It's probably worse than what it's even showing, but I have very stiff struts in this car. Handles them pretty well, but you know, still you feel them. You know, overall not too bad, and it's basically what we'll see with the excuse me, the hiccups with the Infiniti, and we're gonna jump in it now. All right, so backing out of the driveway now, and these are a bunch of little rocks. This car feels very smooth over a lot of stuff. You know, I drove it last night. I made a long video, and it did not record any volume, so I had to do it now. I had to do it this morning. So here we are, a little patch right here. Like I said, I have the insert on that side, the right side. So I got the one that's most definitely stiffer on the driver's side. So, and it's like virtually noiseless. Like right there, that was such a big pothole, a big sewer cap that I drove directly on top of. Normally I would have avoided it, but I mean, just heard a little bit right there, but it's like it's a big bump, and you know the rears are still original, you know, so and there might be a little bit difference in the front stiffness to the rear, so that'll kind of, you know, mess it up sometimes. Like right there, that was a manhole cover as well, and it's stiffer on this side for sure, you know, but you're sitting in it, so at least it's a little bit more balanced. It would be less balanced if I put the insert on the driver's side, you know, but I mean the car is running fairly well and everything is fine. I went over a bunch of bumps yesterday in a 9-minute video, and I'm not gonna bother, you know, posting that with this video, but I mean it's virtually smooth over everything, you know, so this is all good stuff. Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here's a bunch of bumps, bro. Boom, boom, boom. That was showing the passenger side, which was very smooth as well. And there's a collection of bumps here. I mean, this car is so silent going over everything, you know, and it's just slightly stiffer on the driver's side, but it's minor. And I just think it's going to equal out nonetheless, you know. And hopefully the insert lasts a decent amount of time, and you know, that's all you can hope for, you know. And yeah, right there, that was a little harsh right there. It's one of those things where, you know, I'm not going to pull it apart again just to release some oil out of it, but I still think it's going to eventually even out, you know. It'll probably seep a little fluid, you know. But that was a little hard right there. Because I can't even bounce the car. It's very hard. So it's stiff, you know. But remember, I made it so that it was softer on the top and harder on the bottom. So if you go really, really hard over it and fast, it's going to cushion it. But it's like the little bumps are going to be fine. But if you have a medium bump, that's when you're probably going to hit that really tight spot, you know. And I probably should have, you know, left it alone, you know, in a certain sense. So this is just really for everybody else who wants to try to do this. It's totally doable, though, you know. Like if you live in a place where you don't even have a lot of bumps, this is really nothing. It's not even an issue, you know. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I still think it would, you know, like if it's too much oil in it, I think it's going to eventually seep out and it'll find the right place where it needs to be, you know. What would probably be good is like going not fast, but actually kind of slow over, you know, let the suspension really come up and down over like speed bumps and stuff like that, you know. But for the most part, this is fine. I mean, this thing was completely undrivable before, so I'm pretty happy with it. And see, like this thing here is a big dip down here. Oop, this guy, sorry. And this guy doesn't know what I'm doing. I don't know either. I can't do that. But yeah, I mean, like the medium bumps are probably the worst of it, you know. But it's not getting stuck and it's not completely undrivable, you know. And I just think the more you drive it, the better off it'll be. And you know, it's also, I don't really know what fluid to use. I just figured it was safe to use hydraulic oil. I used the Lucas brand, so it had some, you know, modifiers in there for helping it to flow and whatnot. So I thought maybe it'd be a little bit, have more viscosity for the better brand, you know. But for the most part, watch out, squirrel. I think this is a success, and you know, it's a lot of work, you know. So I'm glad I got to do it and used all of my common sense on video just to show you what I did. And, you know, you can use your judgment from there, you know. See, right there, that bump was fine. I went slower over that bump. If you just slow down a little bit when you come to the potholes, which a lot of people do anyway, you know. And this is actually where the big dip was, but it would be on the wrong side now. And it's also possible it will need the rear, you know. I'm pretty sure it's the front that I'm feeling. Yeah. Hang on a second. Yeah, because it's definitely the front. But again, it's just firm. It's not like it's bottoming out, you know. It's just a little too firm, but it's not something that's undoable by any means. So that's the main thing. Yeah, and the it's like the up to medium bumps are absolutely fine and smooth, and if you go hard over a medium to big bump, you're kind of okay. But if you're going at a slower speed over a medium to high bump, then you're going to feel it. Like this, yeah, that was just was fine, you know. There's another sewer cap that's below level, you know. Yeah, it's definitely smoother on the right side, but it's not worth taking all apart again. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And, you know, for something that would have costed $466 per side just for the part plus the labor, I think we did pretty good, you know. So there's just no fixes for certain cars, you know, and no cheap fixes. So, and it looks like at least the rear shocks, you could definitely use a 93 Nissan 240 SX set. I was doing some measurements, and it looks like it is the earlier one because it's a longer shock in the 96 and around the 96 year of the 240 SX. So, but this car was undrivable and became very drivable, you know. And the only thing I would have liked to have done different is if I can make both of them equal, but I ended up buying a used strut that had the insert already. So I think it's a success. I mean, and now that you have like a baseline, you know, idea of what to do with me doing the work, okay, I hear the bigger bumps, and if I go faster, you know, it's funny. The first bump was bigger, and then boom, 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 it was straightened out from there on, you know? So that's interesting. Yeah, and then I was driving smooth there, and then it hit it again, so it kind of equalized. So, like, if you hit a collection of bumps, the first one will be hard, but the rest of them will be okay. So I don't think it's so bad, you know? It's really not. This car is actually very drivable. You have no idea how stomach sick I was because it was really shocking my whole body, you know? But I think largely there's nothing really wrong with the rears now, you know? They were saying that the rears were stuck down as well, and it's possible that they'd do in the future, but right now you don't even need to do them. They're fine, you know? And it because, like, it brought the front up, it keeps the rear up in a lot of ways, you know? So if it keeps the rear up, then it's at a new location or possibly a new location. But this car actually has a good ride height, you know? Like I said, this side is just stiff right now, you know? And it bounces. It definitely bounces. The little bumps are no problem. You know, I just think this one is more consistent all the way through. So I'm quite happy. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and I think this was an interesting thing that nobody has a video on. And please share it, like, and subscribe. I've never said that before. Thanks for watching.